How's it going, guys?
Bloesch for it, and it does have, I think, at least a couple of children that are of age for the Ream Challenge and a newborn.
So, Coach, it looked like the defense was pretty stingy today. Running game didn't really get off the ground. What are your thoughts on how the running game's coming and what the defense is doing right now?
Yeah, I feel great about the running game. They made some good plays on defense today. We're seeing a multitude of fronts and blitzes right now that we're still adjusting to. But, yeah, I don't lose confidence in what we're doing. We just got to be a little bit more consistent. Like I told those guys, it's really about we know what to do. We're just still cleaning up how we're doing things right now.
Josiah Martin's a guy that had some pretty solid offers, but are you sometimes a little surprised to see a freshman come in, especially in the spring, and do as much as he's doing? I think he had like 7 or 8 catches today.
Yeah, he had 7 or 8 catches today. He had 9 catches on 10 targets on Saturday. He definitely carried his momentum from Saturday. It's been awesome to see. He's a great kid. He's super intelligent. He's really learned the offense very quickly, and he just gets better every day. So the consistency that he's showing us in his route running and his explosiveness and his consistency, the quarterbacks are starting to like that too. So, we tell the receivers all the time, if you want the rock, you better be consistent, because the quarterbacks are going to go where they know the guys are consistent.
How do you evaluate Saturday overall for you guys?
I thought it was good. It was one of our longer days that we've had this spring. I thought, for the most part, guys were competing at a high level. Obviously, we had some situational things that we needed to clean up. I thought we ran the ball well. I thought we were pretty solid on third down. We had introduced the 2-minute drill to them on Friday and then did another one on Saturday. I didn't think we were as good in that drill on Saturday as we were on Friday. So, again, it's the challenge for those guys and the challenge for us offensively is just the consistency of the day in, day out. And then obviously as you're sitting here at the last week of spring ball, not getting tired of working on little things and getting better.
There's a few explosive plays in that scrimmage on Saturday. What have you thought about just kind of your development in that area?
Yeah, I think, obviously we have to be explosive. And when people think of explosiveness, you're thinking it's got to be a 75-yard shot down the field or whatever. But for us, we can have explosives on screens. We can have explosives in the run game, and as well as pushing the ball vertically down the field. So we want to be multiple in the way that we're being explosive, but it definitely helps us get going. And that's kind of the challenge. I think you see when we get out on the field in these team periods and even in scrimmages, we talk a lot about getting the first down, because then we can dictate the pace of play. So that's a big point of emphasis for us, is go out there, let's pick up the first down, and then we can start playing with our tempo that we want to play with.
Feels like Tron has kind of hit a nice stride in his spring so far. What have you thought about his last week and a half or so?
Yeah, Tron's getting healthier. He was sick a little bit before spring break, and just getting him back and rolling. And I think he's starting to kind of hit stride of where we need him to be. And then he knows that he's just got to continue developing in the weight room this off season. The challenge for him is the stronger he can be. I think the more physical he's going to be on the perimeter, and the better he'll be.
Coach was challenging the guys after practice. What was his message to the guys?
Yeah, just kind of what I talked about, being consistent and doing it. Today kind of felt like a in-season Monday. You kind of everybody got up on Saturday for the scrimmage and we're tackling, and then you come back on Monday and it's right back to work. And he kind of just laid that out for them, that that's what we're looking for as coaches, is who can go play at a high level on Saturday but then show up on Monday and go right back to work.
I know it depends a lot on the situation of the defense, but fair to say they're going to run the ball more than you did last year?
I think that'll all be dictated off our game plans week to week. Obviously, we'll always start our game plans with getting our run game installed. But what we do in the run game, a lot of that is going to be dictated off of numbers anyway. So, when we have numbers conducive to run the ball, we're going to run the ball, and when we don't, we're going to take advantage of the things on the perimeter. So that'll sometimes be dictated by the way that people are playing us.
Does the quarterback get 2 plays called into him?
He gets a run. If we're calling a run, he's getting a pass too. Yes.
But your center and left guard spots have evolved a little bit over spring. What's your progress report on
how that's going and kind of who's fitting where.
Yeah, I really like what Matthew Wyckoff's been doing at center. You know, he played center at Texas A&M before he came here. Obviously, last year with Sindo coming back and Brian being a guy that had been here for a while, we played Matthew at left guard. You know, the first week and a half or so, I started looking at Sweeney. I need to develop Sweeney and Wyckoff in there, but Wyckoff is obviously a really big body, does a really good job of kind of handling everything. He's super intelligent, so I've been really happy with the way that he's developed in there at center just really in about a week.
Did you say the starting five up front is pretty well set?
For now, based off of what we have, you know, we'll have some guys coming in this summer, and then, you know, we'll kind of see what happens movement-wise of the portal. We're always going to be active and trying to improve our roster at any position, and so we'll kind of see what that looks like over the next couple months.
Back to the RPO, how happy are you with the decision-making on choosing the right play, the run or the pass so far between Fernando and Chandler?
Yeah, I think those guys are doing a really good job. They're seeing the field well. And again, that comes with experience, you know. But the challenge that we've presented those guys with throughout this spring is them truly understanding what we're doing in the run game and where we're running the ball, who the box fitter is. Are we running away from their extra defender? Are we running to their extra defender? All of those things matter when you're talking about RPO football. So I would say that I've been very pleased with the way that they're seeing the field, you know, as far as first, second, and third level reads.
The ball was on the ground a couple times with those exchanges. Is that a big concern for you right now?
No, just we've got a lot of guys kind of rolling in there at center with that second, third group, and you know, we got to get that cleaned up, obviously. But the first group's been pretty solid with that.
It's probably a dumb question, but what's the thing on the quarterback side? Is that a camera or is that a
That's
microphone?
a GoPro. It's a GoPro camera. So whenever we watch film after practice, we can hear what they're calling to the O-line, so we can make sure that they're calling the right protections and the right plays, and then also we can track their eyes as they go through their progressions.
Okay, so it's for the quarterbacks.
It's for the quarterbacks, yeah.
Is that film more valuable for a quarterback to rewatch it, or is it better to see the overhead still?
Well, I mean, they're watching every angle, so but I think it's good just for them to hear, you know, for Coach Gilbert and for myself to hear, you know, the communication that's happening between them and the offensive line, and then also tracking their eyes throughout different concepts. So it's something that we saw the Dolphins doing, and you know, obviously they were on Hard Knocks, and everybody watched that, and we saw some of the video footage that was off of Tua's helmet, and we said, well, let's look at it and try it this spring and see if we like it. And I think, you know, not every play you're going to get great film out of that, but there's definitely been some times, especially 7-on-7 true drop back pass full progression concepts where we feel like we're doing a pretty good job of tracking their eyes.
So you're looking at whether he's looking off the safety or something, or?
Yep. Just seeing where he's got to start in his progression, whether that's the boundary safety or the free safety, and then kind of as he's working his way back through it, how fast he's scanning the field.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.